Hello. I'm going to try and go through this Edexcel paper as quickly as possible until we get to the question where it's grade 4 and grade 5 questions. Again, if you're going through it, I would suggest that you make a comment if you're not sure about anything. It'll be difficult for me to see whether when you're making these comments. So I'm going to try and have a look through this. On my phone. Okay, so I'll keep eye on for any comments or anything, but again I'll leave this on here for you to have a look at it afterward. Okay, it's 80 marks. You should take your time when you're answering these questions. Again, it's a last minute one. You got exam tomorrow, so just after you finish this, take some have some rest. Okay, don't overthink and try and answer as many questions as you can. Again, I would say, I've said it so many times to a lot of people, that you should always attempt 100% of the paper. To get 60% mark out of 80 marks out of 100%, you need to attempt all 100% to give yourself some safety net. Okay, so you need roughly around 60% of the mark to get a grade that you want. Right, we start with the first question. It says simplify how many E there are. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 E. So that's it. All you have to do is just write that down saying you got 5 E. You're going to use a red pen so you can see better. 5 E. 3/4 as a decimal. Again, changing decimal to fraction to decimal is doing top divide by bottom. And it's a non-calculator paper, so we're doing 3 divided by 4. 4 doesn't go into 3. You carry 3 forward, you use a decimal, and you add as many zeros as you like. 4 goes into 30 7 times and 2 remainder. 4 goes into 25 times with no remainder, so we get our answer 0.75. 60 millimeter into centimeters. So 60, you multiply or divide whichever way you want to look at it. Okay, so we're going saying 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeter. So when you go from centimeter to millimeter, we multiply by 10, but we're going from 10 to 1, so we divide by 10, and that should get you 6 centimeters. Write down multiple of 8 between 25 and 35. So 8 times 3 is 24 and 8 times 4 is 32. Angle A is 53 degree. What type of angle is that? So anything less than 90 degree is an acute angle. So we're going to say that's an acute angle. And question 6. We got the table shows information about the blue pens and the number of red pens sold in each of these 3 months. Okay. Work out the total number of blue pen and red pens Miller sold in June. So June we had 27 blue and 15 red. So we're adding those two numbers together. 27 add 15. That 7 add 5 gives you 12. Carry 1 forward. So you get 4. So it's 42 pens that's been sold. Okay. In 3 months in total, I've sold more than twice as many blue pens as red pens. Okay. Is Samia correct? You must show how you get your answer. So we're looking at all 3 months together. So we add how many blue pens we sold. So we can use a column method again to add those up. So we got 3 and 7, that's 0, 10, carry 1 forward. You go 4 and 4 is 8. Add 2, that's 10. So we sold 100 pen, that's blue. And then we got 20, 30, 40 and 49. So yes, Samia, what's her name? Samina is correct. She has sold twice as many blue pens than the red pens. So she is correct, and that's the working out that we needed to show. There are 10p, 20p, 50p, and a pound coin in a bag. The bar chart shows the information about the number of 10p coin and the number of 20p coins in the bag. Okay, there are 8 50p coins in the bag, so we're gonna go 50p. 50p will go all the way up to 8. You should use ruler and pencil to draw this, so if you go wrong you can correct it. And there are 3 pound coins. Okay, so we're gonna go to 3 for the pound coins and draw that. Okay, halfway between 2 and 3. Use this information to complete the bar charts, which we already have done it, and show that the total amount of money in the bag is less than 10 pounds. So, okay, so we're gonna work out how much money in each category do we have. So we go £1 and 20p. That's £7. 7 20p coins as £1 40p. 8 50p coins, so that's £4 and £3. So we go all together 7, 8, 9, £9 and 60 pence. So that's what we're gonna just have to say here, £9 and 60 pence, which is less than £20, so £10. The diagram shows two sides of the kite. Okay, on the grid complete the kites. The kite have two lengths that's adjacent to the adjacent lengths are equal. So again, look, remember I'm going 3 across, 2 down, so I'm going to look through that way. 3 across and 2 down. So this is what that point. So you can join them up. Again, I say use the ruler when you're joining them up. Okay. And that will join here. So that creates the kite. Okay. Solid, what's that? Cylinder. Okay. Greg is Greg is 5 year older than Katie. Okay, so Katie must be 5 year younger than Greg. Okay, so remember the Greg is X. And if Katie is 5 year younger, then mean whatever the X is, let's say X is 10. So we're taking the 5 years off that. So we take that 5 away from it. And that's what Katie's age is. X take away 5. So Greg is 5 year older than Katie. And the Katie is X take away 5 means 5 years younger than Greg. Okay. Carl is twice as old as Greg. Again, twice means 2 lots of X's. X is 10. And then the Carl is 20-year-olds, and then means 10 add 10. So we can call it 2 lots of X, 2X. Solve 4y. So 4 times something gives you 12. So divide both sides by 4. We say y is equal to 3. Write down 23,619 to nearest thousand. So 23,000, that's your thousandth value. So is it close to 23,000 or 24,000? So we're saying if it's 23,600, that means you're going to go close to 24,000. If you use the word estimate, anytime the examiner uses the word estimate, that means we have to round each number to one significant figure. Okay, so we round all of these to one significant figure. So that will round to 6, and that rounds to 100. Okay, so 6 times 100, which is 600. If you're adding or subtracting fraction, you should have the denominator exactly the same. So we're going to change both of these. So it's over 8. So first one is already 5 over 8. The second one we're multiplying 4 by 2. So we're multiplying 1 by 2. So we get 2 over 8. 1/4 is 2 over 8. So 5/8, take away 2/8, we get 3/8. 2/5 of 40 means 2/5 times 40. Another way you can look at it, this is 40. We're cutting 40 into 5 equal parts. And we wanted 2 of these parts, okay? So if you cut 40 into 5 equal parts, each one of those is going to be 8. 40 divided by 5, divide by the denominator and then multiply by the top number. Why? Because we want 2 out of those 5 equal parts. So 8 and 8, that's 16. Okay, so divide by bottom, multiply by the top. Here's the part of the timetable from Liverpool to Birmingham. Train timetable from Liverpool to Birmingham. These are the station in the middle. Which train takes the least time to go from Liverpool to Crewe? So we're saying, okay, 8 to 7 to 53. So we must show how you get to the answer. So don't do things in your head, okay? Obviously you need to work out the answer using these. So you can going through 53, take away 7. So that will take you to 46 minutes. So you're doing 8:53. From 8:07 to 8:53. So we're gonna do add 3 minutes. Let's say add 6 minutes. So that takes you to 13. Okay, and 13, then 40 more minutes takes you to 53. 13. So 6 and 4, 46 minutes that takes for it to get to Crewe for the first train. First train will take 46 minutes to get there. And then we're looking at the next train, which starts at 8:47 and it reaches the place at 9:22. Okay, so again 13 minutes. That takes you to 9 o'clock plus 22 minutes. So we got 13 and 22, and that will give me 35 minutes, is it? Yeah, 35 minutes. That seems already a lot quicker. And then the last train starts at 9:07 from Liverpool, and then it gets to Crewe at 9:55. So it's similar to that, obviously 2 more minutes, 9:55 instead of 8:53 it gets 9:55, so we know it's going to take 48 minutes to get there. Okay, so this is the quickest one, the one that leaves at 8:47. It takes you to Crewe the quickest because it only takes 35 minutes. Even if we made a mistake there, that would be 45 minutes. Rose gets to the station in Wolverhampton at 9:25. She wants to catch the next train to Birmingham. So Wolverhampton at 9:25. So she can take 9:30 train. Okay. The train is delayed by 35 minutes. How many minutes does Rose have to wait for the train? So one that's supposed to come at 9:30 is going to come at 10:05 because of the 35-minute delay, and 5 minutes from 9:25 to 9:30. So we got 5 minutes plus that 35 minutes. So she has to wait 40 minutes. Question 13. Let me just quickly see if anyone made any comments on The platform, anything's there. It all seems normal. It seems like no one watching the stream at this time. So we're gonna go back to what we were doing. Okay, question 13. Here's the number machines. Find the output when the input is 6. So if you put 6 in, multiply by 3. We put 6 in, multiply by 3, that gives you 18. And then take away 8, that gives you output to be 10. Why is being so achievable? And then find the input when the output is negative 11. So what we got is, starting here, negative 11. Opposite to that, so you add 8 because you're working backward, and that will give you negative 3. And then divide by 3 will give you negative 1. So you can see the running if you get negative 11. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Negative 3 and negative 8 gives you negative 11. So we got 10 and negative 1. And negative. A road has a length of 1.6 kilometers. The road is shown on the map with the scale 1 to 20,000. So 1 centimeter on the scale would be 20,000 centimeter on actual road. Work out the length in centimeter of this road on the map. Okay, so we're gonna change this into centimeters. So we're gonna first change it into meter, 1.6 meters. So remember, 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meter. Okay, so we're gonna multiply this by 1000 to get it into meters. So that is 1600 meter. Then 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So we're gonna multiply this by 100 to get into centimeters. So we get 1600, that's 1600 meters, and then add 2 more zeros to get you that as 160,000 centimeter. Okay, so we have road that's 160,000 centimeter, and then every 20,000 centimeter gives you 1 centimeter on the scale. So we're gonna divide this number here by 20,000. So we can knock off 4 zeros from there to knock off 4 zeros here. So 16 divided by 2, which gives you 8. So it would be 8 centimeter on a map. Okay. They say using the word workout, so you need exact answer for what's 1.35 times 48 going to be. So we can use multiple way of doing it. Okay, so remember there are 2 decimal places in your question, so when you answer it you should have 2 numbers or 2 decimal places in your answer. So you can ignore the decimal and multiply 135 by 48. Like I said, there's so many different ways you can do that. So I'm going to do this method. I call it Navier-Stokes method. A lot of you know it as slightly different name, but so 135 multiplied by 48. So I'm going to break into these boxes, and then you're going to split those, each one of those boxes into halves like this. 5 times 4 is 20, so you write tens on the top half and the units at the bottom half. 4 times 3 goes in here, so that's 12. 4 times 1 is 4, so 0 and 4. Okay. 8 times 5 will go in there, which is 40. 3 times 8 is 24. And 1 times 8 is 8. Then we add these diagonal lines. 0, that's 8. It's 10, 14. And if you have more than 10, you're going to carry one forward. So 14 and carry one forward. So we're going to add these numbers. So 1, 4, and 1, that gives you 6. So this is what your answer is. So obviously, the good thing about this method, I can carry this decimal along this line, and if you have another decimal where they meet, you carry it along that. But in this case, we're going to carry that decimal here from there straight down there. So we know we will have 64.8 as your answer. Okay, 80 if you want to write it, but we don't really write zeros at the end. It doesn't really make any difference. And like I said, for 6480, and then you have 2 decimal places at the end. Okay, you can add those decimal places at the end. 64.8. AED and BCD are straight lines. ED equal to EC. Show that the EC is parallel to AB. Okay, so EC is parallel to AB. We want to show that. If this is an isosceles triangle here, okay, that means these two angles are exactly the same. So what am I going to do at this point? I'm going to take that angles 180 degrees in a triangle, and you take away 40 degrees. So we're left with 140 degrees. And those 140 degrees you need to split it equally into these two angles. So this angle here and this angle here, because this triangle is isosceles triangle. So we do 140 divided by 2, and we get 70 each. So this angles are 70 degree each. Now we can say these 70 degree angle here, okay, DCE and CBA, they both 70 degrees, so they are both corresponding angle. They are corresponding angle, and therefore EC is parallel to AB. That's all you have to say. Okay, so you can say angle DCE equal to angle DBA. They are corresponding angles. And therefore EC is parallel to AB. Sam wants to use this recipe to make 15 pancakes. These are ingredients to 10 pancakes. So we can work out the ingredients to 5 pancakes. So we divide these ingredients by 2 to get to 5 pancakes. So for 5 pancakes, we need 50 gram, 100 milliliter, 20 gram butter, and 1 egg. Now I can go from 5 to 15 easily. And that's the reason I went to 5. Otherwise, when you're using calculator, you can go to 1 and then 1 to 15 easily. So we're dividing it by 2 and then timesing it by 3 to get to 15. Saying, okay, does Sam have enough flour? So he has 200 gram of flour, and to make 15, we need 150 gram of flour. So yes, he does have enough flour. Okay, enough milk. If we need to multiply by 3, so we get 300 milliliter. He doesn't have enough milk because he needs 300 milliliter and he only have 250 milliliter. He has enough butter because he got 60 gram. He needs 60 gram and he has 70 grams. And he only needs 3 eggs and he has 5 eggs. So the only thing he's missing is 50 milliliter of milk. Again, stem and leaf diagram, this one doesn't come up if you do a QA. The only place this comes up is in Edexcel. So if you're doing Edexcel, then you need to learn this, okay? Otherwise, you can skip this part if you're doing AQA. Again, this is very similar to what you would do. Then the neat one, we're going to copy out over there, okay? So our lowest number in this case, or this scenario, the smallest number we have here is 135, I think, okay? So we're going to start with 13. And then the biggest number we have is 154. So 14 and 15. So those creates the stem. Okay, then we do the leaves. So the first one is 146. So there's 6 here. Then 135. Then 142. Then 150. Then 38. And then 49, then 152, 46, 37, 154, 47, and 44. Okay, so now this is all the leaves we managed to do. Now you got to do the neat version of that. So we gotta put them in order: 13, 14, and 15. Okay, so 135, then 7, 37, and then 138. So you're putting them in order. Here the 2 is the smallest one, so 142, then 44, then 46 twice, then 47, and then 49. So trying to see if you get the same number as well. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6. And then this one's already in order, but we still have to write it down. Okay, make sure you have the same number as well. We should have 12 numbers, so 3 6 and 6 12. And then you also need to write down the key. So just pick any number. Let's say we got 1 3, a line, and a 5. That represents 135. That's what you have to say in the key. Find the highest common factor of 54 and 120. This question does come up in the higher. This is like the repeat on the higher paper and the foundation. This is overlapping section. So if you had pretty much everything correct up to this point, then there are high chances that you would get to grade 4 basically. But that's not gonna happen if you're doing this again, and that's most likely that you would have messed up at some point, would have made small silly mistakes at somewhere. So it's always important that you always had to go at the entire paper and not leave it there. Here there's multiple ways you can do that. I prefer to do it so you find the prime factors of 54 and then find the prime factors of 120. Any two numbers multiply to get you 54, which we do it 2 and 27. That's the prime number, so you got 9 and 3. That's the prime number, so you got 3 and 3. So we can write down 54 as 3 times 3 times 3 times 2. Okay, then 120, I would start with 12 and 10. None of those are prime number. 4 and 3, that's a prime number. 2 and 2. And that's 5 and 2. So we can write down 120 as 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Now highest common factor is the biggest number you can make using these prime factor. That's exactly the same. I got 2 times 3 in here, and I got 2 times 3 in here as well. So those are the only numbers that's common. So highest common factor is 2 times 3, which is 6. There are only red counters, white counter, blue counters, and green counters in the bag. Okay, if someone chooses one counter at random, there are twice as many blue counters as there are green counters in the bag. So let's first add, they should add up to 1. Okay, so if we do 1 take away 0.4, because the 0.3 and 0.1 gives you 0.4, that gives you 0.6. So blue is twice as much. So we can say, let's see, if that's x, this would be 2x. So altogether that's 3x represents 0.6. So what's 1x going to be? So 1x is going to be 0.2, 20%. Okay, so that's 20 times 2, which is 40%. So we got this is 0.4 and this is 0.2. So probability of the blue counters is 0.4. If 45 red counters in the bag, work out the total number of counters in the bag. So we go 45 red counters. So 0.3 represents 45 counters. That means 0.1 would be a third of it. Remember, divide it by 3, you get to 0.1. Divide that by 3, you get 15. So 0.1 is equal to 15 counter. What it means is, so 1 times it by 10 gets you to 1, which is 100%. Times this by 10, get 150. There are 150 counters in the bag. This is slightly tricky, so you generally want to start with the positive number. Do the negative number at the end. Okay, so we start with zeros. When you substitute x equal to 0 in here, you get 0 square, which is 0. Okay, you can start doing these calculations somehow. 0 square is 0, add 0 is still 0, and then take away 4 gives you minus 4. Okay, and then when you're doing the 1 square is 1, add 1, it gives you 2, and then take away 4, 2 take away 4 is negative 2. Okay. And then when you do the 2 square is 4, add 2 is 6, take away 4 gives you, so 4 and minus 4 gives you 0, so that should give you 2. And you can see there's a pattern, they meet in the middle. Okay, so that's most likely going to be negative 2, but we just work it out anyway. Okay, and negative 2 square is 4, so negative 2 times negative 2 gives you positive 4, and then take away 2 because that's add negative 2, and then take away 4, so that's minus 4 plus 4 gives you 0, and then you're left with just negative 2 there. Once you get those points, you plot them. Okay, so negative 3 and positive 2, so it's there. Then you go negative 2 and negative 2, which is there. Then you go negative 1 and negative 4. Then you go 0 and negative 4. Then you go 1 and negative 2 and 2 and 4, 2. So you can see there's a parabola identical basically, and you join them up with smooth curve. So U-shape graph, that's what you get, that's it. Saying turning point, coordinates of the turning point of this. So turning point is going to be when the x is there, and when x is 0.5, negative 0.5, and then the y value is right now from our graph, it looks like it's going to be negative 4.5. Obviously, it might not be exactly the same thing, but when you put x equal to negative 0.5, what would it be? And that's what we're going to be looking at. But we're just going to look at the graph and saying, okay, the turning point of this graph is negative 4.5. Okay, so you're using your graph. Question 22, there are 180 chocolates in the box. Now, these questions a lot of people want to skip, okay, because they might find it difficult and they might not want to read through that. There's a ratio involved, saying I'm not good at ratios. But look at the marks. There are 5 marks for this question. Okay, so even if you get something right, you get mark here. So I would want to get 1 or 2 or 3 marks, whatever, but make sure you read the question and attempt it. There are only dark, milk and white chocolates. There are 3 different type of chocolates. 1/7 of 280 are dark chocolates. So if I work that out, saying 1/7 of 280. So I'm cutting 280 into 7 equal parts. So divide by the bottom number, and that gives you 7 goes into 28 4 times, so it's 40. So we know we got 40 dark chocolates, okay? And that will get you marked. Now, if you know that there are 40 dark chocolates, then the milk and the white chocolate is going to be 40 less. So you're going to have to do 280, take away 40. So we know that you got 240 either milk chocolate or white chocolates, okay? So we know what to do with it. We can split 240 in the ratio 1 to 3, because the number of milk chocolate to number of white chocolates are 1 to 3. So we're gonna say share 240 into 1 to 3. Okay, so we got milk and the white. So we're gonna add the ratio. So we're gonna do 1 add 3, which is 4, and we're gonna divide 240 by 4. Okay, so 240 divided by 4 will get you 60. Okay, so one part is 60. So we gotta do milk is one part, so there are 60 milk, and white is 3 parts, so 180 white. Okay, so we now know exactly how many chocolates each one of those are. 40 dark, 60 milk, and 80 white. We know the ratio between white to dark is n to 1. Okay, so n is the white and the dark is 1. So if we know white is 180 and the dark is 40, how do I go from 40 to 1? You divide it by 40. So we divide 180 by 40 as well. 40 goes into 164 times, and half of 40 is 20. So you got 4.5. N is 4.5. So when you simplify from 40 to 1 and 180, you're dividing both sides by 40. So you get 180 divided by 40 is 4.5. So that's 5 marks. But if you get this far, that's the 1 mark there. You would have got that second mark there. That's the third mark. And then the fourth mark, you're getting the right number. And the fifth mark, getting the ratio right. That's it. Does this affect your answer to part A? 10 milk chocolates from the boxes are eaten. So instead of having a 60 milk chocolates, now we have 50 milk chocolates. Okay, does that affect this part here? No, because we're only comparing the white chocolates to dark chocolates. Milk chocolate is not being used, so this doesn't affect our answer to part A. There's multiple way of doing it, but because it's small powers, I'll just convert them into ordinary number. 5.7 times 10 square, which is 5.7 times 100, gives you 570, plus 9.8 times 10 to the power 3, that means 9.8 times 1000 gives you 9800. Okay, and when you add them, we get 13 carry 1 forward, so 10,370, and you back it into standard form, so we have to have decimal there, so you get 1.037 multiplied by 10 to the power 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's your answer. And this is a repeat on the fire again. Basically, we need to know a few things. Okay, all the exterior angles add up to 360 degrees. Doesn't matter what type of polygon it is, how many sides there are, all the exterior angles add up to 360 degrees. Another things, interior angle plus the exterior angle is 180 degree. That means this is the interior angle of that polygon, and then the exterior angle would be this bit here. Okay, that's exterior, this is interior. And then few more things about these questions. BCX, so BC and X, this is an equilateral triangle, so each of these angles are 60 degrees. Okay, so we know up to here is 60 degree. And then CDXY or YX are square, so that's 90 degree if it's a square. So we know the interior angle there is 150 degree plus this exterior angle, it gives you 180 degrees. So we know now exterior angle is 30 degree. Now one exterior angle is 30 degree, and all the exterior angles adds up to 360 degree. So how many 30 goes into 360 degrees? So you do 360 divided by 30 gives you 12. So there are 12 30-degree angle, that's an exterior angle. That means there are 12 sides. So we know the n is equal to 12. Okay. The equation of any straight line has that form where m is the gradient, the slope of the line, and then the c is the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis. So the y-intercept in this case is going to be 3. So we know the c is equal to 3. And the gradient is you pick any 2 points, that's the whole number, so we're going to do these 2 points and then draw a triangle. So that's change in x, which is 2. Remember, your 2 boxes is 1. Okay, so 1 and 2. So change in x is 2, and then change in y is going from 3 down to 1.5. So that's not really a whole number in a way, basically. Okay, so we're going to look at a bigger triangle. So going from 0 all the way to 4, this bigger triangle. Okay, so now this distance change in x is 4, and then the change in y is going from 3 to 0 is 3. Okay, so the y gradient is change in x, change in x divide by, sorry, change in y divide by change in x. Okay, so change in y is 3 divide by change in x, which is 4. So the gradient is 3/4. That's our m. So we can say y is equal to 3/4 of x plus, that's a c3. That's your equation of that straight line. Vectors, really straightforward, is saying 2c and 3d. Okay, so 2 lots of 7, 4 and plus 3 lots of 2 and -1. So you can multiply everything, so double the x value and the y value here. So double 7 gives you 14, double 4 gives you 8, and then you add that onto triple 2, which is 6, and triple -1 is -3, and then add them together, add the x values together, that gets you 20, add the y values together, that gives you 5, and that's your answer. That's it. Any questions? Again, you can go back to it. I will try and upload this as soon as I can, and hope you guys enjoyed this, or whoever end up watching this enjoyed it. Okay, I tried to complete everything within an hour. Hopefully might help you, might not. Good luck for the exam tomorrow. Okay.